but usually it's the same song and dance over again where they'll be competitive at some point, like down the stretch, they'll even like have a lead. But they'll give it up. And the bottom line is when defenses, especially the top defenses in the ACC, with like the likes of Duke and UNC, when they start to like tighten up and really put in full effort at the end of games, when defenses just tighten up, it's a big time struggle for Virginia Tech to score the ball. Like the last 6 minutes, you'll see it pop up on the screen all the time where it's like it's been like 4 minutes since they've scored a basket. And so that's a problem. And I think to me the solution, I don't really see a solution that's going to be. Um, I don't see a necessarily a solution that's going to like turn Virginia Tech into like a just like, oh, they're definitely going to make the tournament. At best it's going to be like they just like barely squeak in, and they're going to have to make a serious turnaround, get some marquee wins left that they even can left on their schedule. But it definitely looks like they're trending towards the NIT for the future. I like, people say, is it like a player's issue? Is it a coaching issue? It's clearly a bit of both. I think like the reality is I'm not really going to blame this on Mike Young, just because at the end of the day, Mike Young's not going out there and play it. I think the players have to go out and execute, and it's been pretty evident game in and game out that they haven't been able to do it in a lot of these ACC games. So I'm definitely not going to like cast any like narratives that like Mike Young isn't the man who can, lead Virginia Tech to do some really great things on the basketball court for the future. I still think he absolutely is. It's just not necessarily, it is a disappointing season. I think definitely one thing Virginia Tech has to do for the future is they have to hit the recruiting trail really hard, and they have to get some premier recruits and some just premier talent. Because, like the transfer portal and graduate transfers, they're good for the short term, but if you really want to have long-term program success, you're going to have to hit the recruiting trail and get some marquee freshmen in the building. I think Padula and Maddox are definitely key pieces that they definitely have to return. And the question may be asked, like, because I mean, Ryan, you brought it up, Virginia Tech. Do you want to give some more playing time to Padula or even Maddox, just because if they don't necessarily get the time this year, would they want to transfer? I don't necessarily think so, because I think next year they'll probably get their opportunity to like start. Padula seems like he's in line for the starting point guard position next year, and Maddox is probably going to start at shooting guard, or I would assume he'll be in the starting lineup, considering they have three guys coming out this year. But yeah, I mean, the short term, I think it's tough. They can definitely, there's still opportunities out there for them to just definitely get into the NIT, and then if they can really rally, put it together for the tournament. But to me, it's just the long-term solution has to be to hit the recruiting trail really hard and get some just better talent in the building.
I mean, that's the thing. I like that you brought up Mike Young because I mean, I can't pinpoint anything that he's necessarily doing wrong. Uh, we know that this is the offense he wants to run. It's a very slow tempo offense, and it looks like that again. They're in like the bottom 20 for tempo again, and they want to do that. They want to be offensively controlled. I mean, they played better defense earlier this year, but it just comes down to again, they don't have big guys that can really stop a guy like Baycott from last night. Just a lot of interior stuff, whether it be post or it be guys doing backdoor cuts. There's lack of communication. There's just lack of really solid interior defense, and
Mhm.
I don't know. It's just
Another thing is like Virginia Tech, a lot of times they'll get kind of how do I say this? Once the team defense figures out like an opponent, they figure out what Virginia like set plays Virginia Tech's running, like out of timeouts or just even like up the floor. It's kind of just like over. Like they just don't have a lot of creativity and a lot of juice, where it's like the guys on the floor can like create outside of like what Mike Young is really designing, and that's why I think it's more of like a talent than like coaching thing. And I mean, it's anytime a team's struggling, there's multiple factors. It's not just one. But you're right. I think it's just like I don't really think you can pinpoint on Mike Young. I think he's like, but I just think every time Virginia Tech, like that, once they've gotten, the set plays start fizzling out, it's really just, it's become dang near impossible at times for them to just score the basketball. And I mean, obviously you got to score to win the game. It's a make or miss. You say it
yeah.
in the NBA, make or miss league, but it's a make or miss just in basketball period. That's just how the sport works. And Virginia Tech just can't seem to make enough at the critical times in games.
Yeah, well, I think that's the biggest thing too, is because, when you look at missing Tyrese Radford and how much he meant to this team last year, you have Keve Aluma, who's an all ACC caliber player, but at the end of games, you can feed it into the post and they can double that. And then it's like, all right, you need another option. And Tyrese Radford was that guy who could get the ball from the perimeter, attack, get fouled, or make a tough shot. And that's just what they're missing this year. And you talk about whether it's on the coaching or the players, and it is a mix of both. But I think some of the more frustrating things are just like the small attention to detail things. It's the turnovers. We just can't be losing the turnover battle. And there's a difference between turnovers, aggressive turnovers, and the turnovers that Virginia Tech's been having are really careless turnovers and they're unforced errors. And I think those things are really frustrating. The offensive rebounds, they gave up 16 against UNC last night, and then I'm pretty sure they gave up 16 on the road against Boston College, and that lost too. So you're just not going to win many ACC games allowing 16 offensive rebounds. And going into the game last night, I mean, we needed Keve Aluma to outplay Armando Bacot. And I think offensively he held his own, but for him to have 19 rebounds and, sometimes he really just overmatched Keve down low. And I think that's concerning too. So it's kind of just a combination of all these things and their inability to close out games and play, really clutch basketball is just, it's really hindered their success this year.
I think
Yeah.
too, you can point out that, and Ryan, I'll throw it to you. Sorry, I kind of just jumped in
Oh,
there.
no.
I think overall backcourt production, there was a mismatch last night. You look at Caleb Love having 22, RJ Davis had 15, Black had 10. Their backcourt dropped all double figures, whereas Aline and Couture had decent nights, scoring 10 and 13, but Storm Murphy only had 2, and that's kind of just how games have gone. I know that again, it's Mike Young's offense. He wants to feed Aluma and Mutz because when they're down low, they honestly can be really, really good, and then the other 3 guys kind of just work around that and find their spots for threes. But I mean, does the way that they play, does that just lead to them having these backcourt mismatches that cost them games? I mean, it could. I don't know, but man, it's just tough because they're at the bottom of the ACC right now, and there's still a long ways for them to come up. And this isn't really a deep team either because they're not playing any of their reserves that much, except for Padula, who saw a big increase in minutes last night, and Maddox had once again less than 10 minutes. Even though a lot of people want to see more Maddox, but I don't know. He just hasn't been able to break through yet. I don't know what they're seeing in practice. I don't know what Mike Young's seeing on the court, but I feel like this team could use some help at really any spot.
That's the thing. I think with the argument of playing Maddox and Sean Padula more, I think we're at the point of the season where you got to get fans excited about the future. And I think the best way to do that is giving fans a glimpse at these younger guys. And I think if you look at the shooting stats, Maddox is shooting almost 60% from 3. And obviously it's a lot less volume than the rest of the guys, but I think he's way too good of a shooter. I think I would say he's one of the better athletes Virginia Tech has. And he's way too good of a shooter to not be getting up 7-8 shots a game. And the opportunities really just aren't there. So yes, some of the rotations I think need to be adjusted. Elaine is just really uncharacteristic out of them, and I think they're just banking on him kind of getting out of this slump and working his way through it. And you saw flashes of how well he can play against Notre Dame, but it's just big picture, it hasn't been great. So I think Mike Young has to get a better look at Padula and Maddox and really see what they can do at the ACC level.
Yeah, I mean, we brought up Will, Wyatt both brought up it's about talent, it's about recruiting, and so I think one of the main reasons that we hired Mike Jones as an assistant is because of the high school talent he's produced and the high school talent he could recruit. I mean, he coached DeMatha for such a long time. He built players like Markel Fultz, Victor Oladipo. I mean, these are guys that we could have a chance of getting because of his connections to DeMatha. And then talk about Tyrese Radford. He definitely make a big impact. I mean, without him, we're kind of struggling to facilitate as much. And like Texas A&M, they're 14-4. They're borderline ranked. They're doing well in the SEC, and they have him.
All right, yeah, I think we're going to give Ryan the last word on that one there. I think we're about to head to break. We're kind of coming up against it here. I mean, quick thought. I mean, they're playing Miami tomorrow night. They're at home. Whiteout game. Should be a good atmosphere. I think it's the first home game of the semester with all the students back. So that should be, I don't know, maybe that can help them. But Miami's having a really good season so far. So, yeah, all right, we're going to take a break. On the other end of this, we're going to get into a little bit more college basketball as a whole. And then after that, we will get into Wyatt's segment for the day, and that'll be it. So, you guys are listening to 33 Over Daily. We'll see you on the other end of it.
And a pleasant good evening from Castle Coliseum as the Virginia Tech Hokies set to play host to the Pittsburgh Panthers here in Blacksburg. Georgia Amore now crosses the timeline for Virginia Tech. Swings it out to Kayla King on the right wing. Kitley now top of the key, hands it off. Asia Shepard rises and fires for three and drills it. Asia Shepard, she's money from downtown. Count it for Shepard. Tech's up to a 7-4 lead. Deflected away as Kayla King goes back the other direction. Asia Shepard now on the left wing, dribbles it down low. She looks to kick it back out. Kayla King tries NBA three from the left wing, and she drills it. 9 points already for Kayla King, and the Hokies lead it 18-8 over the Panthers. And the rebound goes to the Panthers. Everett tries again from the same spot. That time she's money. Don't give her two chances, Hokies, and Pitt's within 9. Azana Baines now drives down low. Baines goes up for two. It's blocked once again. She recollects with 10 seconds on the shot clock. Back up top to Kiana Traylor. 6 seconds on the shot clock. Traylor drives down low. Traylor still going. She puts it off the glass for two and in with 3 seconds on the shot clock. Kiana Traylor from the left block. She says, how about this? Tech has a 39-23 lead.
Now Pitt charges up the court. Braun takes it by herself, kicks it out, over to Johnson. Johnson for three, and it's good! Kinley gives it right back to Amore. Amore pulls up, and it's good! Amore is having herself a night. She looks great out there, crossing over everybody. She went all the way around the paint. Shepard waits for everyone to get in their spots, get in their places. She'll take it at the top of the key against Exenor. Lays it up by herself, and it's good! Shepard takes it all the way to the rim and gets the simple layup against Hayford. As Amore now takes the rock, Kitley on her knees sends it all the way out the trailer from the VT logo, almost crosses the timeline as Amore will take it out at the VT logo. 4 seconds left on the shot clock. They got to go now. She puts up the shot, and it is good! Shepard now at the top of the key. They just send it around to Kitley. Kitley looks for the three-point, does not take it. Greg now gives it back to Kitley. Kitley pulls up from her signature spot, and it's good! Elizabeth Kitley may have just saved the game for the Hokies.
Good evening and welcome inside the Dean Smith Center in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And it will be Caleb Love passing it over to Manick. Trying to find Black in the paint, over to Baycott. He goes up and slams it down, returning Aluma's favor. Love back to Baycott, guarded by Aluma. All the way across to find a wide open Leaky Black for three. And the first three-pointer of the night belongs to the Tar Heels. We'll go back to Maddox. Through the hands over to Mutz. Mutz fakes a mid-range jumper to Aluma for three, and Keve Aluma gets the three-point basket. Pass goes back out to Keve Aluma. Naheem Aline for three. That one is good, and we're tied at 19 with 8:15 to play in the first half. Padula misplaces the ball, and RJ Davis scrambles up the floor. Layup is no good. Defensive rebound by Aline. Hands it off to Padula, who's coming up the left wing. Coast to coast will find Aluma, who gets the layup, and the Hokies have the lead. Murphy finds Couture. Quick fire three. That one is good. Big shot for Couture, 35-33.
Now inside to Mutz. Mutz backing down Manick once again. Mutz tries to go up and over Manick. Great defense by the Oklahoma graduate transfer, and up the floor we go. RJ Davis, coast to coast, lays it up and in, plus the foul against Keve Aluma, and RJ Davis reignites this Tar Heel crowd. Caleb Love kicks it out. Leaky Black, right corner three, got it! Leaky Black knocks it down, and he's been lethal from downtown so far tonight. Storm Murphy on the right wing for the Hokies. Dish inside, Justin Mutz slams it down with the right hand, silencing the Carolina crowd. Davis going at Couture, crossover at the ACC logo, kicks it out. Caleb Love thought about a three, goes at the chest of Naheem Aline. Kick out, left wing three for Manick, splashes the net, and gets the crowd right back into it. Go time if you're the Hokies. Kick to Manick, corner three in the air, knocks it down! That could be the dagger! Brady Manick from beyond the arc, and he's a maniac! Caleb Love gives it off to Manick, he's been hot. Corner three, RJ Davis, wide open, and he drills it from downtown! And if that's not the dagger, I don't know what will be.
All right, we are back. Quick breaking news. Oh, this is what I love doing. This is why I love doing this. Yeah, quick breaking news. This is why I love doing this. Doing this stuff live. Sean Payton, Ian Rappaport just announcing that Sean Payton is stepping away. I want to get your guys' instant reactions to this because I have a couple thoughts on it. Ryan, I want to start with you. Quick thoughts on Sean Payton stepping away from the Saints.
I mean, for the Saints fans, no Drew Brees, no Sean Payton. It's gonna be, I guess, kind of tough for them to accept now.
I mean, do either of you have any other thoughts? I mean, Wyatt, Will?
I don't think this is that
yeah.
shocking. There were a lot of reports after the season that, Sean Payton wasn't committing to returning. And I thought he was going to take jobs elsewhere. The Bears fan in me thought he was going to come back to Chicago where he used to play. But definitely shocking. I mean, one of the best offensive coaches in the history of the sport got every ounce out of Drew Brees that he could towards the end of his career. Looked like, I think they easily would have made the playoffs if Jameis Winston stayed healthy. Someone who just gets the most out of all his players. And yeah, I mean, the Saints are definitely in a very interesting position that they haven't been in a long time now with no Drew Brees and no Sean Payton. But I think they have a clear-cut guy in my mind that would take over, and that's Dennis Allen, who is already getting interviews for other jobs, and he's just done a great job with that defense. So that's my early prediction for who they would pick to replace Payton. But that's going to be an interesting carousel and an intriguing job with a pretty great roster to inherit.
Yeah, I think he's kind of getting the better. Like Sean Payton, at this point, he kind of realizes that he's pretty much gotten everything out of this. I mean, he's done everything for the Saints. Like he's won a Super Bowl for them, multiple playoff appearances, NFC Championship appearances. And without Drew Brees, you're right. Like the Saints nearly made the playoffs with starting Taysom Hill in a lot of their games. He's a quarterback who really cannot throw the ball down the field very often. Another thing to note here is the Saints are projected at least to be $71 million over the cap. So he might have seen that number and was like, I don't know, the long term. I was just like, what's the long term future? I've already done so much for the organization. Should I just move on from the Saints? That might have played a factor to me. So when it comes to just the financials, the Saints are not in a very good position right now. But there is still definitely talent on this roster to salvage. And with the quarterback, yeah, you're right. Like if Jameis Winston or really just any average level starting quarterback, I think the Saints probably would make the playoffs. But now that they don't have Sean Payton, like whoever their replacement is, it's just they're not going to be as good, at least assuming if it's an offensive coach. If it's a defensive coach, it's a completely different situation. But as an offensive coach, it's hard to think that they're going to be a better, just from like a schematic standpoint, than Sean Payton, because you're right, he's like one of the best who's ever done it. But I mean, I'm pretty shocked. But I go back to the $71 million over the cap for next season. And I just have a feeling that number kind of played a bit of a factor maybe in this.
That's the thing, Will. I will say the Saints are one of those teams every year when there's the cap, it comes out, what teams are over the cap. The Saints are always the top of the league in most money over the cap. And they do a great job of kind of they do a great job of maneuvering money around, like shifting guys' contracts, moving money into back years. So I don't know, that could be it. But I do think Sean Payton probably just got to a point where he's, like you said, he's done everything he could do.
Yeah, we weren't planning on talking football at all today, really. But that's kind of just the immediate response. I mean, and it's, big news coming out of divisional weekend. We did a lot of football yesterday. We're not planning on doing any today, basically all college basketball today. So, yeah, I mean, we're already 5 minutes into this segment, and we have 5 minutes till break. But I mean, that's just the instant reaction. I was doing a little bit of digging while you guys were talking, and it seems like this is a retirement, or at least that's the wording right now, because, I mean, obviously, Wyatt, you were talking about, the Bears could be a connection. He's got a lot of connections to Dallas. That was a popular name around Cowboys writers' circles this past week, but with Mike McCarthy's job up in the air, a lot of fans would like to see that. But it seems like retirement is the thing, and who knows, maybe this is just a one-year thing, maybe this is real. I don't know. The news is, 10 minutes old. But I don't know. We'll see where it goes. Okay, before we go to our second break for the day, we have 5 minutes, so let's just go through here. Current state of college basketball. Recent AP poll came out. I really don't have any bold opinions on it, other than I guess we could look a little bit at the tournament and some teams on the bubble, including Tech. But looking up at the top, Auburn's been having a great year. Does anyone have any objections to the fact that they're number one? they've probably got the best resume. They've got the one loss. I haven't been able to watch much of them, but 2 overtime loss to UConn, and other than that, they're pretty much blowing everyone out, and they're doing really well in SEC play. They beat Alabama a couple weeks ago, beat Kentucky just this past week when one guy was, really, saying, hey, I don't like the fact that they're doing so well, put them at 9. That's why they were number 2 for a hot second.
There's actually a story behind that.
Yeah.
But that one writer that voted him a 9 is basically a Kansas. I believe he's a Kansas reporter. He's associated with Kansas University. And for the past couple of years, this has actually been a story where he's ranked Auburn lower than really everyone else has put them. I think this happened the pandemic season when the tournament wasn't even a thing. But this is going on a couple of years now that this same writer has ranked I'm not going to say purposely, but at this point it seems like that's the case just because he's ranked Auburn.
At this point, it seems purposeful, and that's the thing that I don't like about a lot of these polls sometimes, is that people point to the polls as the end all be all, or the Bible, but there are way too many narratives that are allowed to just roam free with this stuff. But yeah, focusing on Auburn, Walker Kessler, the UNC transfer, he's having a really, really nice season, had a really good stretch of games these last few weeks. He's basically been their best player. Outside of that, we talk a little bit of bubble action going on. I don't know about much of the movement that we've got going on here, but Lenardi did update his bracketology this morning at 7. Tech was next four out last night, and even after a loss, they're still in the next 4 out. I don't know. Them being that close to the tournament just does not seem right to me. If the tournament ended today, I know they wouldn't be in, but I don't think it would be close. I really don't know how much of the advanced numbers. I don't know if net rankings have been updated yet. I don't know. But Ryan, before we hit break here, do you want to chime in on the state of college basketball?
Yeah, I just want to point out a conference that I think has been sneaky good. The Big East. They have 5 ranked teams. Marquette is on a 6-game win streak. They've beaten 4 ranked teams on that streak. And outside of that, I just want to point out that I think Arizona has a lot to prove tonight against UCLA, because they have 1 ranked game that they played, and it was a loss to Tennessee. So they have a big game tonight against Arizona. Against UCLA. Yeah.
Well, there you have it. I'm pulling up the net rankings. Tech is currently sitting at 58, which compared to their KenPom ranking of 40, I think that's better, honestly. I don't know if it's just us being fans and being too hard on a team we know more, but they don't really just feel like a top 40 team. Top 60 sounds better, around 58. They're right there with Florida State, who just kind of was able to go toe-to-toe with Miami for a little bit. I don't know. It's just how much more can we say the same thing over and over again? This has been a disappointing season. And
it could be 2 things of number 1, name recognition, Virginia Tech, an ACC school, and number 2, the preseason expectations were relatively high, as we talked about, and so maybe just those 2 things are propelling Virginia Tech into where they are, being as close as they are to the tournament. I don't know. That's just a theory, because you're right. They don't look like a tournament team really at all, with the exception of just a few games here and there.
Is it crazy to say that on some nights they don't look like an NIT team? It doesn't.
No, I don't think it is. I think they are an NIT team overall, but there are some games where it's that ugly, I'd say.
I don't generally know what NIT team's record ends up being, but this team to me screams like they can limp to 2 games over 500 by the end of the year. Would that get them in an NIT berth? But it would, they wouldn't have a home game. They'd have to go to someone else's bracket. I don't know really how NIT seeding works, but if they were a 500 team, I would assume they would be in that at least, right?
I'm pretty sure I've seen some NIT games where it's like a under 500, like Power Five school still gets in. So I see a really hard time say like in a world where they wouldn't get into the NIT. I mean, that would just be that's like disaster, worst case scenario. But yeah, you're right. If it still goes south, then they might not even have like a home game that they host for that tournament at least.
Well, all right. You've got a home stretch coming up here at the beginning of February. Little bit of a home away stretch first, and then Monday, starting in February, you got Pitt, Syracuse, UVA, and UNC all lined up at home. Man, the season is really kind of just getting to an end here quickly. Wow, look at that! Tickets as low as $5 for Monday the 7th against Pittsburgh. How about that? All right, we are gonna hit a break here, and then on the other end of it, Wyatt, he's got a little bit of a game here for us. Just some quick hot topic questions, and then we'll get out of here for the day. So you are listening to 3304 Daily.
And a pleasant good evening from Castle Coliseum as the Virginia Tech Hokies set to play host to the Pittsburgh Panthers here in Blacksburg. Georgia Amor now crosses the timeline for Virginia Tech. Swings it out to Kayla King on the right wing. Kitley now top of the key, hands it off. Asia Shepard rises and fires for three and drills it. Asia Shepard, she's money from downtown. Count it for Shepard. Tech's up to a 7-4 lead. Deflected away as Kayla King goes back the other direction. Asia Shepard now on the left wing, dribbles it down low. She looks to kick it back out. Kayla King tries NBA three from the left wing, and she drills it. 9 points already for Kayla King, and the Hokies lead it 18-8 over the Panthers. And the rebound goes to the Panthers. Everett tries again from the same spot. That time she's money. Don't give her two chances, Hokies, and Pitt's within 9. Azana Baines now drives down low. Baines goes up for two. It's blocked once again. She recollects with 10 seconds on the shot clock. Back up top to Kiana Traylor. 6 seconds on the shot clock. Traylor drives down low. Traylor still going. She puts it off the glass for two and in with 3 seconds on the shot clock. Kiana Traylor from the left block. She says, how about this? Tech has a 39-23 lead.
Now Pitt charges up the court. Braun takes it by herself, kicks it out, over to Johnson. Johnson for three, and it's good! Kinley gives it right back to Amor. Amor pulls up, and it's good! Amor is having herself a night. She looks great out there, crossing over everybody. She went all the way around the paint. Shepard waits for everyone to get in their spots, get in their places. She'll take it at the top of the key against Exenor. Lays it up by herself, and it's good! Shepard takes it all the way to the rim and gets the simple layup against Hayford. As Amor now takes the rock, Kitley on her knees sends it all the way out the trailer from the VT logo, almost crosses the timeline as Amor will take it out at the VT logo. 4 seconds left on the shot clock. They got to go now. She puts up the shot, and it is good! Shepard now at the top of the key. They just send it around to Kitley. Kitley looks for the three-point, does not take it. Greg now gives it back to Kitley. Kitley pulls up from her signature spot, and it's good! Elizabeth Kitley may have just saved the game for the Hokies.
Good evening and welcome inside the Dean Smith Center in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And it will be Caleb Love passing it over to Manick. Trying to find Black in the paint, over to Baycott. He goes up and slams it down, returning Aluma's favor. Love back to Baycott, guarded by Aluma. All the way across to find a wide open Leaky Black for three, and the first three-pointer of the night belongs to the Tar Heels. We'll go back to Maddox. Through the hands over to Mutz. Mutz fakes a mid-range jumper to Aluma for three, and Keve Aluma gets the three-point basket. Pass goes back out to Keve Aluma. Naheem Aline for three. That one is good, and we're tied at 19 with 8:15 to play in the first half. Padula misplaces the ball, and RJ Davis scrambles up the floor. Layup is no good. Defensive rebound by Aline. Hands it off to Padula, who's coming up the left wing. Coast to coast will find Aluma, who gets the layup, and the Hokies have the lead. Murphy finds Couture. Quick fire three. That one is good. Big shot for Couture, 35-33.
Now inside to Mutz. Mutz backing down Manick once again. Mutz tries to go up and over Manick. Great defense by the Oklahoma graduate transfer, and up the floor we go. RJ Davis, coast to coast, lays it up.
All right, we are back for our last segment of the day. We are going to have Wyatt Krieger. He's going to be taking over basically for the last 20 minutes or so here. And we're just going to try to have a little bit of fun with it here on a Tuesday to get us into tomorrow.
Yeah, so I've got a few questions, topics, talking points that we can get to. I think they're pretty topical with all the sports going on today. And my first is if you guys had to choose one most valuable player in Virginia Tech sports right now that has played a game, so not including the spring sports that haven't played a game yet, who would it be? I have a pretty chalk answer. If you guys want me to give mine first, I can do that, or we can kind of turn it over to you guys and see what you guys think. So the most valuable player for Virginia Tech sports right now
so this is a Virginia Tech athlete like currently at Tech, not like
yes.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking like a pro athlete that went to Tech. Well, then
Yeah,
I'm gonna have
could
to
be
I'm gonna have to
football.
rethink my answer then.
Yeah, so I've got Elizabeth Kitley as my answer. She's led Virginia Tech to the best start in ACC start in program history, even though they did lose to number 4 NC State on Sunday. But she's just a force. 28th in the country in rebounds per game, averaging almost 11 rebounds, averaging about 19 points. She's 40th in the country in that regard. 10 double-doubles this season. And just some monster stat lines, too. 34 and 13 against Florida State, 27 and 13 against Duke, 14 and 17 against UNC. So just she's putting up ridiculous numbers night in and night out, and she's the most dominating player on I think the best team in Hokie sports right now. So Elizabeth Kitley gets the MVP nod to me.
I think I would go with Emily Gray. That's kind of the name that kind of came out to me first. I think this was really the first year I was really paying attention closely to women's soccer, and every game I watched, she was just either assisting a goal or scoring one of her own. I believe she had like multiple hat trick games this year. I'm pretty sure she had one against JMU, if I remember. I think she might have had another one, but she's had a ton of multi-goal games. And again, she was drafted third overall to the North Carolina Courage in the soccer draft. So it's really big time. And I think she was definitely the best player on that team, and probably just the best overall soccer player that Virginia Tech had. And so I think she has been great. So I guess she would probably be my pick. But yeah, Kitley's definitely up there. And even the likes of Malachi Thomas, in football, who really came on late as well. So I don't know. Those are just some other names, but I think mine would definitely be Emily Gray.
No, yeah, Wyatt, I'm gonna piggyback off you there. I'm going Kitley. She's been on a mission really. Her just overall dominance has been quite a sight to behold, and it is the reason that this team is doing so well. And you just keep looking at mock draft; she keeps going up and up the boards. So I would say she's likely to stay for her senior season. And with that, I think that sky's the limit really for her.
Yeah, I think Kitley's definitely up there. I think I could say Keve Aluma if men's basketball is doing a little better, but I'm probably going to go with Mekhi Lewis of the wrestling team. They're top 10. He's top 5 individually. He won the 2019 tournament, and he had to drop out of the NCAA tournament last year because he got hurt, but then he came back this year. He's undefeated, doing really well, so I'd probably go with him.
Yeah, those are all very deserving players. So the next question I have, you guys brushed up on this yesterday on 3304 Daily, but the Bills Chiefs game, all anyone can talk about is the overtime rules. What needs to be changed? I kind of go back and forth on it. I don't think they can change the regular season rules, but I do think something needs to be done for playoff games with so much at stake, and seeing what happened to the Bills and them not getting a chance, and you had the people coming out, well, yeah, defense is a huge part of football, and you got to get a stop. Well, the Chiefs didn't have to get a stop. They didn't have to show that they can play defense. So I'm kind of going back and forth on this. The best solution in my eyes would be just play a quarter, and whoever's winning at the end of that quarter gets the win, obviously. But if it's tied, then it's just sudden death after that. But I'm interested to see what you guys think would be smart fixes to the overtime rules, which I really don't think anything is going to happen to it, because these arguments have come up, and really the owners just haven't gotten anywhere on it.
No, Wyatt, you're right. I don't know if anything's going to happen because, I mean, go back with the Chiefs just a couple years ago with that AFC Championship game against New England in overtime, and New England gets the ball, and Kansas City doesn't get the chance to, return serve, I guess. I think that I like the model that hockey does. I like the model the NHL does when it comes to shootouts. They only do it in the regular season, and then come playoff time, you're just playing overtimes until someone wins the game. I like that more. I don't know if we necessarily need to go full college where it's like, okay, you're starting on like the 20. I mean, I would like to see some, real football, actual, sustain a drive. But in a situation like that, I mean, I don't think either defense was stopping each other. I think eventually, yeah, force them to go for two, kind of like college. Don't turn it into like a field goal kicking contest or anything like that. But if you want to do the thing where it's like the first team has to score, if they score a touchdown, give the opponent the ability to match. And if they go down and they kick a field goal and the other team goes down and scores a touchdown, I like that. I just want to make sure that both teams have the opportunity to possess the ball in some way, and that if your defense, which has been getting killed, but you've been killing their defense, if your defense just gets killed and you're done, I really don't buy that. Yeah, I think that it's something that's going to be brought up probably by Buffalo, and then I think that every other team will just probably vote against it. In terms of it though, it's got to be like some combination of what we got now and college. They can do their ties still, obviously, in the regular season, but in postseason, I think you just let them play. I think it just comes down to the only clock that would matter to me would be the play clock.
Yeah.
To me, the only change, the change is pretty simple. So what's already in play is like if both teams get a field goal, then it goes to sudden death. So I don't understand why it's not the same for a touchdown. Like if the team A scores a touchdown, then team B should have the opportunity to match it. And if they can't, the game's over. So basically just have each team have at least one possession in overtime period. And if it's still a tie, so if both teams, go 3 and out, or if both teams exchange field goals, or if they exchange touchdowns, it's sudden death after that. Because I'm not really a big fan of like the whole play a whole another like quarter till the end, just because it kind of becomes, especially in the playoffs, like that team is going to have a massive disadvantage having to play next week in another really tough and competitive and physical playoff game. So to me, it's like they need to find a balance between like getting the game over with, because that's kind of what overtime is for, but also having it be fair. And to me, the change is basically just have the other team have an opportunity to match the touchdown. And realistically, the Bills, it still does kind of give an advantage to the team that gets the ball in the that gets like the team that wins the coin toss, because realistically, if the Bills had an opportunity to return that, they probably would have gotten a touchdown based on the way the game was going. And then it turns to sudden death. Chiefs get the ball, they're probably going to score a touchdown or a field goal, if we're being honest. So the coin toss team, they still get an advantage, but you just like that's how football. The coin toss has been a part of the game of football since like its inception. So that's just kind of how it is. Like one team's going to have the advantage.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest. Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing that gets brought up is like you said, the player safety part of it, because I think some teams don't think they have enough players to be doing that. And then I know it's the playoffs, so it's different. But I just think you saw at the end of the Chiefs Bills game, those guys on defense were just gassed. And if you made it like a matching game, kind of like college football, then I don't think that Bills Chiefs game would have ever ended. It would have kept going. But player safety is definitely, I think, the biggest hindrance on any more changes being made.
It's also a bit ironic that like a few years ago, Dan, you mentioned it, the Chiefs, I believe after they lost that Patriots game, the AFC Championship game, they were the big proponents of like, let's change these overtime rules. And I'm sure they're not going to be on that side after what happened this time. So that's just kind of, it's just ironic, I find.
Yeah, I mean, I like all those ideas. I like Wyatt's idea, but I mean, I think a big change could be maybe just giving them like 8 minutes and seeing who can score 10 points first or exceed 10 points first. But like you guys said, that could definitely hurt teams, could be very draining because they'd have disadvantaged because they'd be playing 8, 10 more minutes of football. They could have more injuries. All that stuff could happen.
All right. So next thing I have is I have a take, and I need you guys to tell me if this is a hot take or not. Josh Allen is better than Patrick Mahomes.
It's not a hot take. It's a wrong take. And that's
Well,
All right.
I think I can push back on that a little bit.
well. Actually, I think he was better in that game. Like I think he played a bit better in the game, but I don't think that makes him better overall. But yeah, Dan,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I'll explain myself because it sounds ridiculous considering Patrick Mahomes just beat him. And at the end of the day, there's some things that Patrick Mahomes can do with his arm that no one else, I think, in the history of the sport could do. But, you guys talked about yesterday how perfect Josh Allen has played in the playoffs. I don't think he could have played any better against the Chiefs when they lost. 9 touchdowns, zero interceptions, like just nothing more he could have done. And I think you have to consider both the supporting cast. If Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes were to switch teams, what would the result have been on Sunday night? I tend to think it'd be different because you have, I think, the best receiver in the NFL. I think when Tyreek Hill is running as fast as he can, he's like the fastest human ever, and I think he's the best receiver in the NFL. And you combine that with Andy Reid and Travis Kelce, I think the supporting cast are somewhat lopsided. And then also when you just consider Josh Allen's size and how they've implemented his ability to run the ball and just how much of a freak athlete he is, I might take Allen. And it's probably a toss-up, but I just think Allen's ceiling might be a little bit higher down the road.
I think it's closer to a toss-up than some realize. I think what the one thing that Mahomes, and saying it this year is weird because he did have a little bit of trouble with interceptions, and he's had some like lucky tips, not go his way where the defense doesn't pick it off, but his touchdown to interception ratio is like still all-time great. Like I think they threw up a graphic that it's just him and Aaron Rodgers up at the top two, and Aaron Rodgers is infamous for having 40 touchdown, 4 interception seasons. He doesn't turn over a lot. Now he had a bad stretch this year where he was leading the league in interception at one point, but just overall, I don't know. I mean, their arms are just both all-time.
Mm-hmm.
They're both pretty accurate. I mean, Josh Allen's ability to increase his accuracy this late in his career is really, really good. Allen as a runner versus Mahomes as a runner. Mahomes is a capable guy, but Josh Allen is just, they have designed run plays for him because he's just that talented. I don't hate the take that, I would take Josh Allen ahead of him. I mean, I think that there is merit to it. All-time legacy, obviously, as of now, Mahomes is there, and who knows, maybe Allen just can never get past Mahomes because he doesn't have Andy Reid as a head coach. He doesn't have the same level of weapons. He doesn't get the home field advantage game where he gets to play at Buffalo in the playoffs. I don't know. I think that they are very on comparable levels, and if you would rather take Josh Allen, I'm not going to disagree with you personally. Honestly, I think it's just really it's too close to call, and I don't think you can go wrong either way.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a hot take. They're both the future of the AFC. They're both arguably top 3 QBs in the NFL right now. I personally take Mahomes just because it feels like the Chiefs, no matter how much they're down, they're just never out of it. Like he just leads those comebacks sometimes. But one thing I like to see is like maybe at the Pro Bowl, just send those two out there and see who can throw it the farthest.
They had one of those competitions back then, and they should definitely bring that back. They should definitely, to make the Pro Bowl interesting and make people actually want to watch it.
I would love to see like an arm strength competition between Allen and like Mahomes. Just chuck it as far as they can. I mean, they could probably chuck it both like nearly probably the length of the entire football field. But who truly has the stronger arm? That would be entertaining.
Definitely. And I think, watching that game Sunday night, I think that game really solidified that it's Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, whichever way you want to rank them, and then everyone else. I think they're just on a completely different level. And I mean, we're blessed that we're going to get to watch them play for the next decade or so.
I mean, in terms of just the AFC. Yeah, go for it, Will. Go for it.
I was just going to say, I think I find it weird when when people say like that, like Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes is like the future, but in reality, like these were the 2 quarterbacks in the AFC Championship game last year. Mahomes is, if they win against the Bengals next week, Well, beat a 3 straight Super Bowl. So like the reality is like, and they're arguably like the 2 best quarterbacks in the game. Like them and Aaron Rodgers, I think is probably the top 3. Um, and so like really, it's not even really a future. Like they're here right now. Like Joe Burrow's in the AFC Championship game. Justin Herbert is a fantastic quarterback, even though the Chargers have kind of struggled to build some stuff around him. So, yeah, it's the future, but like all 4 of those guys, and even like Lamar Jackson, they're all like dominant quarterbacks right now. So it's the future, but it's also like they're the dominant guys right now, as Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady begin to kind of fade out.
Yeah, I mean, the AFC is definitely much more set up than the NFC in terms of promising QBs. Like right now, I mean, Burrow, Herbert, Allen, Mahomes, Lamar. I mean, it's gonna be so entertaining to see how those AFC playoff games go for like the next 10 plus years.
I mean, let's just think about that real quick. The NFC is in a really, really bad shape. I mean, just think about who are the best quarterbacks in the NFC right now. Well, you could say Brady. He might retire. Rodgers, we have no idea what's going on with him. I mean, outside of those 2, I mean, Russell Wilson, he always has starts off really hot the first few weeks and then just craters. That's just how his past few years have gone.
It's like Kyler Murray is probably the one like NFC quarterback where he's going to be like, and he's already a fantastic quarterback, when he's healthy. But
Stafford has a chance
kind
to
of
be
like
in that conversation too. I think depending on how the rest of the playoffs pan out, Stafford definitely has a chance to be in that elite category. But you're right; it's pretty lopsided. The young QB talent on one end and kind of the QB talent going out the door in the NFC.
And that's the thing too with Kyler. Just real quick, and then sorry, Wyatt, I'll let you go here, and then we'll wrap up. But with Kyler, I mean, the thing with him and Kingsbury has just always been they start off so good, and then once the calendar just hits Thanksgiving, they just tank. And they just are bad. And you see it not just in the last few weeks of the season, but in the playoffs too. I mean, it's bad. I would agree with you that out of all of them, because I mean, I could say Dak, but I don't feel good about him right now. Stafford would probably be number 1, and that doesn't feel good to say, because I mean, Stafford's nice and he's had like a good arm talent, his entire career. Obviously, he was just hidden in Detroit. You can't compare Matt Stafford to, I would say, the top 4 guys in the AFC. If you had to give me the 4 guys in the AFC, I'd put all 4 of them above Matt Stafford right now.
Yeah, good points all around. The last thing I kind of wanted to get to is right now we're definitely over the halfway point of the college basketball season. But what is the best conference in college basketball right now?
I mean, Big 12, I think, is definitely the strongest. I mean, you want to look at advanced metrics. KenPom has them number 1 by a pretty considerable margin. Kansas and Baylor are both, strong national title contenders. Texas Tech is really good as well. Iowa State's like in the bottom of the conference, but they're still a top 25 team. Mm-hmm. A lot of really good defenses when you look at the advanced metrics. All of them are top 50 in defensive categories. So when you look at it that way, they're all just really, really solid. I'm just looking at their adjusted numbers here. Yeah, it looks like all of them are in the top 50, or Oklahoma State and West Virginia are just outside the top 50, and Kansas State in the. So theoretically, I don't know if Lunardi does his breakdowns anymore of how many teams per conference, but this is a 10-team conference. You could see 8 teams from them get in. They're just really loaded, and they've got 2 top 5 title contenders, and Texas Tech, which is having a nice bounce back with the loss of Chris Beard. And speaking of Chris Beard, Texas is doing pretty well as well.
Yeah, and they're all really like beating each other up ever since conference play started. But like just watching the Texas Tech Kansas game last night, I don't know if you guys saw it, but went into 2 overtimes, and it's just all the teams in the Big 12 play just a certain brand of basketball that is insane to watch. Just crazy athletes all around the floor, exceptional defense, like you said, and the term gets thrown around that there's no easy road wins in conference play. But for the Big 12, it's like Kansas State has just pulled off their fair share of upsets, and there's really no easy wins in the Big 12. So I agree with that.
Yeah, I'd say it's the Big 12 probably at the top. I think Big 10 and SEC are probably the next 2, I guess, at this point. I think the Big 10 is very deep, in my opinion. And it does have more teams. So there's that, but like at the end of the day, like it's all about what's at the top. And you're right. Like I was gonna say, the Kansas Texas Tech game was just incredible to watch. Like you said, double overtime game, and it just came down to a huge shot at the end of those games, and great defense. And like you said, like the Big 12. I mean, they're the reigning champs. Like Baylor won it last year, and they're gonna have a pretty solid shot to do it again with them, Kansas, Texas Tech, and even Iowa State is pretty good as well. So it's definitely just got to be the Big 12 just because of what they have at the top.
Ryan, do you have a difference of opinion before we go here?
I just want to note that Big 12 definitely the best, and the crazy thing is that if you said 5 years ago the ACC wouldn't be a top 5 conference in college basketball, people would go nuts. But it might be true now.
It might be. They might only be barely better than the Pac-12. It's not a good year for us here.
The
But we
SEC
have our
also
tax
has a-
shavers. We have tax shavers though, and that's all that matters, I think.
Yeah, I think the SEC has an argument, but a lot of their projected really good teams coming in have underperformed this year, but they are also up there for like one of the deepest conferences in the country. So,
All right, there you have it. Well, we're going over here a little bit, but we want to thank you guys for listening. We'll hear from you tomorrow back here on 3304 Daily at 1:30. Stay safe, everyone, and take care.